Hello guys, today we'll be looking at how to draft a free gown without any zipper allowance. So just be a free gown, you just wear easy to wear. And I'll be using these 2 years of Ankara fabric to illustrate on that. I've folded it into four already using my biggest part of my lower body measurement, which is my hip measurement, plus the desirable seam allowance. Okay, that's how to get the accuracy when you are folding. Use your the biggest part of your body measurement plus the seam allowance. So I'll just go straight to imputing my measurement. Automatically, this will be my shoulder line, and the dress length I'm working with is 36 inches plus 2 inches seam allowance. So what I'm having here entirely is 38 inches. 38 inches, that's my dress length. Okay, so input my shoulder measurement, which is okay. Mind you, this dress will not be having a separate sleeve, it will be a joint sleeve. That's to say it will be together with the shoulder. So my shoulder measurement is 7.5, which is 15 inches divided by 2, you get 7.5. And the sleeve, where I want my sleeve to be at about 6 inches. So what I'm having in total here is 7 inches, which is enough because of I'll fold the mouth of my sleeve. So for this style, if you want to take the measurement, you have to place your tape across your neckline to where you want your sleeve to stop. So from my at this point now, I will take my round armhole measurement. This is a joint sleeve style. So I'll take the round armhole measurement, which is 14 inches plus seam allowance. You will divide that by 2. 14 divided by 2 will give me 7 inches. This is plus seam allowance. My actual sleeve measurement is 11 inches. So I just want it to be free. I don't want it to be all that tight. That's why I'm going with 7 inches, 14 inches. So I'll just place my tape on my shoulder line and mark my breast point measurement, which is 10 inches, my waistline 14 inches, and my hip line 24 inches. So I'm just drawing all this line out. This is my bust line, my waistline, and my hip line. So my breast point line, I will take my bust measurement, which is 34 inches. Divide by 4 will give me 8.5. So I'll go ahead and mark 8.5. 8.5. Okay, because this is going to be a free gown, I'll be adding the allowance to it for ease because there won't be zipper on it. So I'll go ahead and impute 2 inches extra. I'll be using 1 inch to shape the dress, while 1 inch will be for the ease, that's for the space. Okay, so I'll just impute the measurements now plus the seam allowance, 2 inches. Like I said earlier on, I'll be using 1 inch for ease and 1 inch for seam allowance. So I'll be sewing using only 1 inches. On the waistline, in order for you to be able to wear this cloth freely, we'll also add seam allowance on the waistline. So I'll be imputing my waist measurement now, which is 28 inches. Divided by 4 will give me 7 inches. So on my waistline, I won't be adding just 2 inches because if you make it a little bit too, if you make it too fitted, you won't be able to wear it. Especially if you're having a big tummy, you have to add more seam allowance on the waistline. I'm making emphasis on the seam allowance on the waistline. So I'll go ahead now and impute 2.5 inches seam allowance here. I'll be using 1 inch to sew and 1.5 inches for seam allowance. So on my hip line, I'll repeat same process. My hip measurement is 38 inches plus seam allowance. Divide by 4 will give me 9.5. 9.5. So I'll just add 2 inches here. 1 inch for ease and 1 inch for sewing allowance. So I'll just connect my lines together now. I'll connect my waistline to my hip line, then from my bust line to my waistline, just like that. Sorry for using for the free hand. Okay, so this is what I'm having. So I'll just measure what I'm having on my hip line. I'll measure everything, including the seam allowance. I'm having a total of 11 inches here. So on the hemming part of my dress, which is the lower part of my dress, I'll measure 11 inches. I'll just mark 11 inches here. and I'll connect to the hip line. Okay, so this is it. Okay, for the sleeve area, I'll come in here by half inch. I'll come in by half inch, then I'll connect it to the shoulder line. Okay, so for the neckline now, the front and back neckline is going to be same. So I'll just come down by 4 inches and also use 4 inches here, or 3.5 inches is okay. Sorry if this is for all medium size or just an average body, but if you're working with a chubby person, I will advise you use 4.5 inches width, then 4.5 inches depth for your neckline. So I'll just cut the front and back neckline is going to be same. So for my shoulder slope, I'll just come down here by 1 inch and I'll mark 3 inches here and connect. So on the sleeve area, on the sleeve opening, I'll go down by 1 inch since I'm taking 1 inch out from the shoulder line for the shoulder slope. So I'll just connect back. Sorry, I'm supposed to do this first, but it skipped my mind. So I'll just connect like this. Okay, so this is my shoulder slope. Remember I said I came down more by 1 inch on my sleeve opening. That's because I took 1 inch upward for my shoulder slope. So I'm replacing it here on the sleeve opening. You are supposed to do this first, do the shoulder slope first before imputing the other body measurement, but it doesn't matter though. So I'll go ahead and cut this out. So I'll just cut my neckline, my shoulder slope, and I'll cut the side area. Okay, this is it after cutting it out. Okay, I'll be inserting a pocket to this dress. So this is my waistline. From my waistline, I'll come down by 1 inch. From the waistline, I'll just come down by 1 inch. Then I'll mark 6 inches downward. That is where my pocket will stop. But if you're working for a chubby person, ensure you use 7 inches. So I'll just notch that point. This is where my pocket is going to start. This is where it's going to stop. Okay, so that's it. So I'll just go ahead and cut the pocket now. I'll be using a bias to turn the neckline, or you can just cut a facing for the neckline, whichever way you prefer. Okay, this is my pocket. This is the side I'll be attaching to the dress. I added 1.5 inches extra. I have a video on this based on how to fix the dress pocket. So just go through the channel. Okay, I will join the shoulder using half inches, just like I've done. Look at the yellow thread. I joined it using half inch. So I'll be shaping the dress to where I notch. I'll use 1 inch to shape it to where I notch. Then I'll skip the opening of the pocket and continue shaping to the next 1 inch. Then I'll fold this area, the sleeve opening. You can see how it's looking. So this is my sleeve area. I'll be folding it to like this. I'll be folding in 1 inch, 1 inch on both hands. That's the right hand and the left hand. Then I'll also hem the lower part of the dress. So I'll go ahead and shape it now. Okay, I'm shaping the dress. This is it, and this is the thread line. You can see. So what is next now? We'll just hem the lower part of my dress and pipe the neckline. So I'll pipe the neckline now. Then you can use your bias or you can use the Ankara fabric to pipe the neckline, whichever way is fine. And I'll also go ahead and impute my pocket on it. Thank you so much for watching. Please ensure you give this video a thumbs up and ensure to subscribe to my channel. Bye. See you in my next video.